Informative talk. However, before I open the floor to questions, I'd just like to remind you, before you field your questions, to provide your name so I can maintain a speakers list, and try to keep your questions or comments brief. We're a bit behind schedule. So now I'd like to open the floor to any questions or comments you may have.
I have a question in regard to racism and unions. What is the basis of the racism? Is it that the people who have some sense of control are afraid that they will lose it?
May I have your name?
I'm Douglas Rattray.
Thank you.
I'm Jesse, and thank you both for the wonderful contributions. I think, as a segue, I think there was such a debt to movements for Indigenous self-determination, because I feel like my own eyes are being opened to my own to the history of that I was deprived in school. I went to a high school called Lannon, which was named after a chief. Actually, which at least that was at least acknowledged there, but it was always a sense of something in the past, and we used to take field trips to what was the Museum of Anthropology, with all sorts of wonderful works of Indigenous art that are in the museum, but there was a real sense that this is something in the past, and there wasn't a sense of a ongoing, living, thriving community. It was just a museum, and to see idle no more, and of course there's been nothing idle about movements for self-determination. It's been 500 years of movements, but the impact that it's had, that even now Vancouver had, I think it was last year, had a at least, just I think a word on paper, but at least acknowledging that they are on territories that have been occupied and that continue to be occupied by Indigenous people, and actually naming the nations which the city of Vancouver continues to occupy, and it's really helped give a sense of the ongoing history, and we talked about it more tonight, but just the impact that it's had on understanding on changing and developing the environmental movement. So it's and seeing land not just as a resource that people fight over, but actually as a system of relationships, and how and with the idea of the Wampum Belt of helping nations to come together. I mean, I think it provides such an important and useful framework for understanding things, and I think that definitely the Truth and Reconciliation Commission and the Declaration of Rights of Indigenous People really embody that, and it'll. I'm not so hopeful for Trudeau to necessarily bring that, but just seeing the impact that movements are having on opening people's own eyes to their own history. I think it is so important.
Thank you. Yes.
I think what's really important to, as middle-class white Canadian people, is to recognize our role in helping their cause. Because our government doesn't do anything unless they think that we're going to stop voting for them because we're angry at them for what they're doing. So we really have, sadly, more of an impact on their future that they have on with their own actions. We're talking about racism in the workplace. Racism is a major problem right now, like in the Canadian population, not our governments, not the workplace. It's not being approached with a hardline position. It's still something that's being accepted more than other forms of racism, unfortunately. So I think it's really important for us to recognize that we do have the movements that First Nations people, Indigenous people are doing are great, but we shouldn't feel content with those. We have a role to play. Without our participation in these movements, it's not going to go anywhere, because our governments have shown years after years, mandates after mandates, that they don't care, really, unless there's a real impact on the fact that they're going to get reelected, because they're one and only concern. So those movements are great, they do bring something, but it's not going to go anywhere without our participation, and it's not their role to go and get us, it's our role to go and join them in their fights. So I think it's just...
Thank you. Yes, sir?
My name's Dale. To kind of piggyback on that, I feel that it's important. Yes, I mean, I don't necessarily agree with all of that statement for the following reasons. It is important for settlers and people of settler background like myself to be allies with the Indigenous and First Nations movements, but it is imperative that those be First Nations led and controlled and guided, because it is not our job to be the savior of the First Nations. It is our job to be their allies and to walk beside them and not in front of them. And I think it's really important not to get into that mindset of like, oh, these people, the damsel in distress, like, oh, these people need saving, I better go save them. So I just wanted to, I don't know, maybe add some clarification to that.
And I agree 100%. It's not a taking over a movement, it's more sort of follow, and definitely it needs to be led by the people that are concerned. I'm just saying it needs the support because our governments don't care. They really don't. Like, you go talk to them, talk to the ministers, talk to their chief of staff, talk to everyone that's involved. Just go sit with them in a room and you'll see what they say. And as soon as the chiefs and their council go out, you'll see what the comments are, and it's still racist. They still laugh at it. They still, I mean, it hasn't really changed. It's changed because it has become an issue for us, the middle class white people, and we have voiced that. As soon as it falls back into a state of abandonment and another subject takes the front line, it's going to revert back, and they're going to sneak in other regulations that are going to revert back to how it's been for the last 50, 100, 120 years. That's all I'm saying.
Christy?
I'm Alex.
Oh, sorry, Alex.
You're so far away.
Yeah, that's right.
But I think we also have recently we've had a real game changer for that kind of attitude from the government, because in the last federal election that I don't know more really rallied the vote, and for the first time, we had a lot of First Nations people, a really solid group of First Nations people coming out to vote, and they can't